Tuesday, the 13th of February, 2007, right at 5:58 p.m. Councilwoman Bell is present, Councilman Hodge, Vice Mayor Losner, Councilwoman Wallman, Councilwoman Garner, and Councilman Porter. 2A is the approval of the January 23rd, 2007 minutes. The motion for approval. Moved by Councilwoman Bell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Any questions on the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 2B is the presentation of the city logo by Public Information Officer.
Mayor. Actually, we have Jo Ellen from Adkins and Associates. She has her and Lillian have some stuff they're going to bring forward. At the last marketing communications update we gave you, we got some feedback from council, and we took your comments and directed those back to Adkins, and Jo Ellen has some great things.
Good evening. Jo Ellen Phillips, 2222 Ponce de Leon Boulevard. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here this evening, and thank you for your comments from our last meeting. Vanna White here is going to help distribute some things for us. These are the logos with your recommendations. We changed the color on it. And just to remind you once again that the H in the Homestead is an art H. It is not a font, so nobody else will be using the H. It is exclusively yours. And we put the tagline on that we had spoken about, discover the opportunities. For those of you in the audience, you can see this. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were having the meeting in here tonight until too late, but they will be here afterwards that you'll be able to see this. What we also did, too, was to go ahead and just very quickly put them on some of the things that you would probably be using them around the city. For instance, your signage. And she will, Vanna, you want to do this up here? And then the shirts, so that you can see them. There are trucks and the car and suggestions for business cards, which if you want to let them see it first. And if you have any questions about this, we've been holding back on moving forward with some of the other communications materials until we had the logo approved. And once again, just as a reminder, since we've gone through this before, the difference between the logo and the seal. The seal will always be used for official city business for documentations. As in your mind, as you say the word seal. The logo is something that as the city grows, as it goes through flux periods, you can change it. Every 5 years, every 10 years, depending upon what the mood of the city is. But the seal would remain the seal. It would never be changed. But the logo is also used as a marketing tool. It announces to the outside world that you want them to come here and discover the differences, the opportunities here. And your H out there is something that they won't miss anymore, that it's very differentiating, and you'll be able to pick it out any place. So if you have any questions or comments, we'd be glad to take them, but we'd love to get moving on it.
Mayor. I like it, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I like it, and then while the blue look nice, I think the green that goes with the signs we have really truly stands out and is more distinctive. Question for you, sometimes when we're going to other governmental agencies, we talk about that we're the second oldest city in Dade County. Was there an intentional omission, or did 1913 just not fit in anywhere? Do we want to sell that longevity? What would be your perspective on that?
That would, to me, should be with your city seal. Right under where you have the word Homestead, if you look at the back behind there, that's where I would put the 1913. You can always use a comment someplace, as if we're going to be designing like letterhead or so. We can always run that across the bottom, the second oldest city, 1913. But I would not, that's something that I've got to tell you out there in the world, as far as attracting businesses here, it's it's not the most important thing. Right now, what do you have to offer me? Why should I be moving here? So that's why we're suggesting discover the opportunities.
Well, I guess specifically maybe, on our welcome signs, the signs that entering into the city. I mean,
absolutely.
Maybe that would be an appropriate place to...
Absolutely. Yeah, we can put something also down at the bottom there. That's not a problem whatsoever. Please bear in mind that what you're looking at right now is just something that we did fairly quickly, just so that you'll be able to see how the H would show up from a distance. We have a large open office, and I was explaining to Lillian prior to this that we pretend like we're driving in cars sometimes because we have different posts in there, and people will be standing behind the posts, so when you come up to it and just do that quick glance, that's nice, sound effects, but when you're doing 60 to 90 miles an hour out there, it's not like you're slowing down to look at them like you just did here, but what catches your eye and what makes you aware that you're in Homestead instead of having to read a whole bunch. So yeah, we can, please, these are just for concept right now.
But again, we're going to have a hierarchy of uses and some consistent and imaging and so forth, and I would hope that at least on some of those entryway signage, I think we call it, that we would talk about at least, outing our longevity.
Yeah, we can certainly do that without any problem whatsoever.
Mayor? Thank you. Ms. Wallman and then Ms. Bell.
I just want to say that I met with everyone as well, and over a year ago, if not 2 years ago, we voted to use Homestead as home as a good portion of our signage, and we decided that under the tourism that we would be doing some of those signs. So, Vice Mayor, I think that might be a good place too to put the date in there representing that we are a historic downtown. So those signs, we're not doing a report on that tonight, but I just wanted to let people know that that's not forgotten as well. This is more or less the official logo.
Right, this is what you're selling to the world outside of your zip code.
Right. But once people get here, we hope to have signage throughout the city and the entrances and such saying Homestead is home. So that was voted on some time ago, and we're hoping that, that we'll be able to incorporate that. And I like this very much, but I do hope that we do keep that portion of our city because that's what makes us unique. And we spent a lot of time developing that Homestead is home. So,
that's right.
Ms. Bell?
Thank you. Certainly, I think I like the green a lot better. I didn't like it before, and it's better, but I still don't love it. And I don't want to be a naysayer, but I don't love it. It just, it's very simple. It's very clean, and I do like that. But I saw so much from your presentation that I loved, from your company that I loved. But I don't know, it's just not jumping off the page at me. I'm just not loving it. And so maybe it's just me, but I'm just not loving it. It's very, very simple. It's not very eye-catching to me, and especially on the vehicles. I know that that's difficult, and I know it's difficult with all the different colors, but I just wanted to voice my opinion. I'm just not loving it. So it's out there.
Can I ask a question?
You finished, Bill? You finished?
Yeah, I'm just not loving it.
Now, the difference, I know we did a logo years ago for the electric utility to try to brand the utility separately from a city. It's its own company, right? And I look at the police, they have their own established look too. Now, how does that pertain to this?
How that pertains to this would be that they would all be unified after this so that they would all look like they belong to the same company. You have variations on it, but not that you can't identify that they all belong to the same group. Like I say, I hate this word now because it's so overused, but branding.
Right.
And there would be a direction that you take, and you would keep certain elements out of what you decide upon, and that would be carried over. I think I mentioned to you in our separate meeting that for other cities that we have developed what's called a communications guide, so it's very clear how everything is used and that it's set up once everything is agreed upon. And as far as a format, and if it's, for instance, excuse me, Ms. Bell, but, in case we do go forward with this H, but let me just use that as, something for tonight. But let's say that H is, we move ahead with that. And then that H would stay in the configuration somehow or another, but it would be a little bit of a difference so that you could distinguish the public works from the police department. Now, I'm sorry.
Sorry, 1 second. I just wanted to just clarify one thing. We don't have plans right now to do the police department. That may be something that would happen in the distant future, but right now it's planned for public works, electric utilities. The police would stay as is right now, because really what they use is what would be the seal, is what they use as their low at the moment. It's just so much with their cars, the reflective, the work that's on the cars and everything, that we don't plan to change that as of right now, but it would incorporate the other departments.
Well, what I was getting at is, I remember when we did the branding of the utility, for lack of a better term, we used an H format as well. And I can visualize it, but I don't see it. Anybody with a
standing? I was looking for somebody who might have it on their shirt.
Somebody had a shirt on, but I remember seeing it was a similar format, but it had a streak or something through it. So that would basically go away, and then this would supersede all that. So this would be the seal, the brand. So the
logo. Okay. That will be your seal.
Okay. Well,
the seal remains permanent. Right.
Because in the attempt to try to brand, because that was what that was what we tried to do years ago, to brand. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Sure. Mr. Bolton, council members, you are absolutely right. The ones we branded practically in public works and the electric department will go away, and the logo they have here will be the one used across the city with the exception of the police department, and of course the seal stays for the entire city.
So the intent would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, originally we talked about the company of the utility should have a different brand than the city of Homestead. If I remember correctly, I thought that's what we were trying to do originally. So now basically we're trying to put it all back together?
I think that will change. I don't think the branding actually caught on particularly. I think what we could do here, and we talked about this, if you have this logo, then you can put the department underneath, like electric utility, water.
Well, that's all. I was trying to get clear in my mind, because originally we had talked about trying to separate the companies somewhat, and now the intentions are to put the companies back together.
Exactly. It's really what the effect will be.
Correct. And it's kind of to have, again, we want it to be uniformity throughout, meaning, within departments and within the city itself. I mean, you go out and you see a truck from, one department, you see a city vehicle, and a lot of people don't, put them together really, and everything kind of looks just very different. I mean, none of them go with the other. Even we've talked about it, whatever's decided with business cards, we've discussed that. I mean, even within the city itself, and I'm not talking about public works or electric, I'm just talking about city departments and employees. There are probably, that I've seen, 30 different versions of business cards floating around. And it's just something that when you go somewhere, when you have them out there displayed in some of the departments, and you see something, not one looks like the other, and we're trying to put that together to...
Well, I can follow the thinking now, because I was trying to figure out how we were separating, but now it's back together. So,
Mike brought up a point. When we were doing that branding, deregulation was in the air, so to speak, for electric utility, and we were trying to brand Homestead, but that seemed at this point has gone away. And we did the same thing with our documents. The city first came in here. The city had departments would use different documents, for example, vacation or sick time, or we didn't have a standardized document format. Now we do. We number them. They can go on and get them off the internet, and use the same documents for the same issues that we need to do documents for. So it's really kind of similar to that, and formalizing and making it consistent.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Hodge?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I would assume to be piggybacking on what Mr. Porter was saying, because I do understand the branding, but then we're talking about using several different logo styles in different areas to create variations. And in my mind, I'm not a marketing individual, but to my understanding of marketing, it's about instilling a particular image, slogan, what have you, into the mind of an individual. So when they think of vacation or place to visit or place to live, Homestead would be the name that pops up in their head based on how we've instilled that image into them. So basically what I'm getting at by saying that is I hear there's going to be a variation of the seal as well as the logo itself, or the seal and the logo becomes one.
No, there's two separate things. Your seal is hanging on the wall here, and that will be remaining forever and a day, unless somewhere down the line somebody changes it way long after us, but it will be for official documentation. The logo will be for things that are not having to be recorded, things that you're branding it, you're marketing it, you're selling your city, you're out there doing it. What I think what you're talking about maybe is the logo itself, the big H that you may have sitting there in front of you right now, where the variation would be coming in is if it would be, whether it says police department underneath, and I'm sorry, you're not doing a police department, but public works underneath it, parks department, whatever it may be, so that the H would carry through. That would be the element that would carry through.
Okay. Well, and based on that, well, first of all, I would have liked to may have gotten several or at least a couple of choices of ideas to look at, to choose from.
You need to address that, I think.
Mayor,
Okay.
real quick, we went through an exercise where we looked at lots of different colors, lots of different styles. It would have been quite a mess if we brought you 15 different pictures, because we all would have had an opinion, so that's what the committee did. And it was really, Kurt hit it right on the head, it's standardizing. People are going to be given a book, and it's going to be the same H everywhere. Whether it's Public Works or it's another department, but this H would not change.
Again, back to what I was saying, I would have liked to have gotten a couple of different variations, at least 3 choices to look at in different styles, myself to look at, and also I would like, personally, I would like the logo itself to emulate the seal and not to be a total different variation. I understand the seal is very complicated, many colors, and when you're doing a logo, you want something that's going to be simple and simplified, easier to print, less costly to print. But at the same time, you could, I think it should emulate the seal, or be at least very compatible with the seal. Again, it's going back to instilling that image within in the minds of the individual. Because if we're out and someone sees that on a shirt, they know it's the city of Homestead. So what I'm saying is, I think the two should be very close, if you will. Should marry one another. So although the logo will be a different function than what the seal is, the logo should emulate what the seal is. So it's kind of a simplified version of it.
Okay, well, to address your first thing about wanting to see more variations on this, our understanding is that we worked through the communications committee, and we had quite a few meetings with them, and I believe that we presented probably anywhere from 15 to 20 versions at one point. And my understanding it was a committee process prior to bringing it here, and that the committee made the recommendation for where we are tonight. And then secondly, to address, it's always difficult, I need to tell you, that as many people as are sitting here tonight, there's that many opinions about anything to do with art, and that's exactly what this is art. And as far as your city seal, we did a mini focus group on it. I'm sorry, your logo. I'm sorry, excuse me, your seal. We did a very mini focus group on it and asked people outside of this zip code, do you recognize this? Was there anything? And we probably talked to, I would say probably about 32 to 35 people. And it was people who are in city businesses, but around in different spots. And it's not that there is a lot of value added to the city seal outside of Homestead's boundaries. That's why we felt that we could go something that would be simpler and more easily recognized. If there was a lot of value in it that we could find, then yes, but because your logo, especially the word Homestead on there, it is extraordinarily difficult to read from not there necessarily, but when you shrink it down, it's and on different publications that we've seen. And that's why we thought to go to something that would be simpler, easier to read, and something that would be reflective. You have the history in your seal, but to have sort of the future in your logo. And we didn't see, and it's not just me, it's our creative director and our creative team. I'm not the creative one, but right there's about 175 years of experience right there, and they did not have that feeling for being able to incorporate something that would attract the attention and have it be simplified for you.
Well, let me address this. I might not be very political when I say this, but first of all, the thing you stated that the seal doesn't have a whole lot of value outside of the city limits. That is the purpose of using your service to bring that value outside of the city limits.
Absolutely.
All right. Second of all, you can bring in even with art and different variations of art or ideas, you can bring in and show the future of what we have. You don't necessarily have to use the exact same setup as the seal. Note what I said. The logo should be I don't want to get the right word, but it should marry the seal. If you see the logo, it will make you remember the seal or put you in the mind of the seal. You get where I'm going? It's not the seal, it's a logo. But when you see it, it makes you remember in the back of your mind what the seal is. This, what I'm seeing, not that it's not a nice logo. I'm not saying it's not a nice logo, but when I look at it, it's so off from our seal that it doesn't go together. It doesn't marry. And basically what I'm saying is, you can clean it up and you can show the future. You can be very creative in that, but still it will point back to the seal of what Homestead means, or what the foundation of Homestead is. I mean, there's a way to do that. Don't ask me how to do it, because I'm not the artist and I'm not the marketing person. But I know it can be done, and that's all that I'm saying. Yes, the seal is very complicated, and I do understand that. But there's variations of that particular seal that can be brought out into a simplified seal that would still instill that image in the mind, so that the seal itself, which is the heart of what we're doing here, can be broadened and bring that value that we're talking about outside the city limits.
one thing I think you may want to do is probably explain the distinction between the logo and the seal. And it's my understanding with the seal, it provide more historical perspective of the city. And when you look back there, you talk about, you see our history about farming and the air base as the focal point of Homestead. That's our history, that's our foundation. That's the 1913 reflection of where Homestead been. But with the logo, I think the whole purpose here with branding is you're trying to promote the city. This is the promotional side of the city. Right. This is the historical side. But when you're trying to promote it, there's a distinction between the logo and the seal. As you said earlier, the seal is the official stamp. It's when one of the elected officials or the manager or department heads put something in writing on a letterhead. You probably use the seal more so than the logo. When you're trying to sell the city or market the city and you have your vehicles everywhere, you want to promote the word Homestead. And I think we need to kind of look at the distinction. And to me, branding is pretty much promoting your city or your corporation or what have you, where internally, that seal is used more so internally to document or to certify. But externally, you want to extract Homestead and you want to showcase Homestead and discover the opportunities in Homestead. So one is marketing, I would say, and the other is branding. And with this logo, you're pretty much marketing the city. Here we got a historical perspective from the seal. This is part of our history, our heritage. Yeah.
I do understand that, but what I'm saying is one should complement the other.
No, because they serve two different functions.
Exactly. Well, there are two different functions, but one should complement the other, because when you market it, and the purpose of marketing is to brand, and one should complement the other. They should marry with one another, and because the whole idea is to you want to burn one image in the mind of the individuals, and so when you're dealing with several different images, you're confusing. You're confusing the public. One would be branding, and one is a seal, but you're using several different images, is what I'm saying.
Well, you're not going to be using those several different images. You're going to have that one, which is the seal, and then the one you looked at, which is the logo.
Several different images.
But you don't use them together most of the time. You won't use them together, and you will find that most cities now have both a seal and a logo, an official seal for those kinds of purposes and a logo for everything else.
And most times they're very compatible. The ones I've seen, most of the time they're very compatible with one another.
Mayor.
That's all I'm saying. They should be more compatible.
I got Ms. Waldman and I got Ms. Bell.
I want to preface my comments by saying that what we're doing tonight is very important, because once you change everything in the city and then you decide, I don't like that, the expense is just unbelievable. So I had a problem with Discover the Opportunities, and we talked about this for a long time in our session. That just didn't do anything for me. I couldn't understand, what does that mean? And as somebody that's been in business for many years, if I were to see Discover the Opportunities, I just had a real problem with that. Discover what opportunities? Not everybody knows that we've been building down here and that we have a park of commerce or this and that. I know what you're going to say. And you're going to say, well, then they'll ask. But not everybody takes the time, and probably 1% of the people take the time to ask. So and I also wanted, I like this, but I have to tell you how I feel about, if you start to dissect it. the H, you know, the H is there because the city of Homestead starts with an H. But I don't know. I think it might have been presented a little nicer tonight if it had been maybe on linen colored paper, you know, a soft ivory, because I think the white and the white is just very stark. But this would be what would be on all the city shirts as well, everything. So everything would be changed.
No, please, if you'll remember what I said, these were concepts for, are you looking, what are you looking at? Oh, you're looking at the logo?
The only thing I have.
I'm sorry, I thought maybe you were still looking at the drawings that we had.
No, this is the only thing I have. That, you know, I didn't know if anybody else felt the same way as I did as far as the discover the opportunities. Actually, I think that the public probably, I can see everybody's heads shaking, I think they probably would like a little input on this as well, because as I said, this is a huge, monumental change in our city to do this. I mean, I'm thinking of myself, my city shirts, all the shirts, all the cars, all the signages. You know, we don't even have a budget, or do we have a projected budget to change everything?
Lillian, you want me to?
By the way,
well, basically, once we get to the logo part and find out what we want to do, we're holding up, for example, new uniform shirts until whatever logo we end up with, so we don't have to change those, the new things coming in. We thought we would phase in, it might be, especially vehicles, it might be 3 years phasing these things in, just what you say, it's expensive. You know, business cards, we reprint these business cards and stationery, then we would get...
But you see, Kurt, I don't like that wording, phasing things in. If you're going to do it, you have to be ready to do it. Right then, right there. I don't know if everybody agrees with me or not, because then you go back to the same thing. I mean, here's the Public Works, what do you want to call that, logo? And it means nothing to me. I see an H with the green something and a yellow something and a bunch of lines. You know, so that means nothing to me. But at the same time, you can't, this is my opinion, you can't phase it in. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it, because then you're going to go back to the same thing where everybody's going to be...
I hear you. Well, again, because the reason we phase, you heard, it's expensive. I think the cars, I think we had a figure of 120,000. 120,000, just, you know, if we did every vehicle, not including PD, but every vehicle that the city has and redo those.
It's expensive.
That's you know, that's a lot out at one time. So that's why the phasing. I mean, you could do it. Yeah, it'd be better to do it all at once and wake up the next morning when all looking different. But it's a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying, though. And I had another comment as far as I'm going to admit something here. I couldn't tell you if my life depended on it what Pinecrest's logo, seal, whatever looked like, or South Miami, or anybody else's. You know, I really couldn't. I couldn't tell you. And I know people in government there that wear the shirts, and I see them, talk to them, but it's not a recollection to me. So, I'm not that concerned that many people didn't have representation as to what our seal, if it represented the city of Homestead or not, because that doesn't surprise me, because I wouldn't know either unless their name was in it. But I don't know, I just thought maybe if we softened this a little bit, had you thought about maybe an ivory background instead of the stark white, or the linen?
No, it's what came out of the printer. I mean, that was strictly to get you to look at the logo tonight. That was, it wasn't for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Bell?
Thank you. I absolutely understand the need for a logo and the need for something to be uniform. I absolutely understand that. And I think what happened for me is when we had the meeting and we were presented with so many different cities. We saw Pembroke Pines, we saw Doral, we saw Hialeah, we saw so many different renditions from different cities that I loved. That your company did that I thought were fabulous. And then when I saw what was presented to us last time with it was blue, I believe, the same thing, and I didn't care for it at all. It's I think what it is maybe in our minds, or maybe in my mind, I'll speak for myself, I did expect, you know, don't know that I have a problem with discovery opportunities. I think we all have our own little issues with this, and that's fine. But I think that's true. This is something that we're going to be living with for a very, very long time, and so we really do want to be sure. And I know that your work is excellent, and this is not even any reflection on that whatsoever. But I don't. It doesn't pack, it just, for me, when I look at it, it just doesn't pop out at me. It doesn't pack a punch. I don't say, wow, that is sharp. I mean, it does look clean. I will tell you, it does look clean, and I love a clean look, and I think this is, I can understand with the colors. But I think that it just doesn't do it for me for Homestead and H with Homestead underneath of it. I just expected a little bit more for the city of Homestead, some more oomph than this, if you will. I think this is very, almost too simple. I like clean and I like simple, but this has gone a little bit to the other side, for me. But I'm going to go with the majority. If the majority says fine and I'm not voted, I'm used to that. I'm quite used to that. But I just wanted to voice my opinion on it. I'm just not thrilled, with this. And it's, like I said, it's not a reflection on your company at all. I did expect more than just an H, with Homestead. So I just wanted to put that on the table. And I understand everybody's comments here. And as a finance chair, though, I do understand phasing in. Phasing it in. So I'm okay with that. But I hate to say this to you. I think that I'm not picking up on a great consensus for this particular logo. I know, like I said, I could be wrong, but I'm just not loving it.
Okay, could I just, one thing that, let me tell you a problem as far as logos. You said about more pizzazz to it. You have Homestead, which has more letters than most cities' names, except with the possible exception of Pinecrest, as far as right here in Dade County. And so that becomes an artistic problem when you're trying to make it fit into something that's artwork. And that is why we opted to go to something a little bit simpler, just because Homestead has a lot of figures in it. And so, ergo, that's that side of it. And also, with the comment being as far as integrating the seal into the logo, we tried using your sun in the logo and some of the renditions we did, and it didn't work at all. And that's why we came with the flare of the sun coming out on the side. We opted not to use the palm trees because there's hardly a city in South Florida that doesn't have a palm tree stuck someplace, and you're trying to differentiate yourself. And so with the word being so long, trying to make something simpler rather than it being all over the place, that was the thought process behind it. Okay.
The Vice Mayor has something to say, but let me suggest this. I think it worked out a whole lot better when we was at a committee level and you were able to show us some examples, and I think you may want to refresh the council's mind on some of the examples from some of the other cities that you shared with us. It's been months ago. When was in December we looked at this?
Of which year? Of which year?
No, what I'm saying in December.
2005, 2006.
No, in December you shared with, I know. And you may want to refresh our minds about it. To be honest with you, I like it. And we need to go in more detail with a distinction between a seal and a logo.
I think
there's a major difference between the two.
I think you did a great job of describing that.
So we may want to move this back to the committee of the whole and get some more input, and if maybe Councilwoman Garner, some of the examples that you all looked at, bring forth 3 or 4 of them, and let's see what happens. But let's not sit on this. I just think we need to move forward on it. Could be scheduled for the next committee of the whole.
Oh, you're kidding.
I don't know. And I'd like to see the cities of Sweetwater, I just jotted these down just a second ago. Sweetwater, Pinecrest, South Miami, Miami Beach, Hollywood, Palmetto Bay, Cutler Bay, Florida City. Those are all long words, so I'd like to see. Pardon me? Yeah. you know, I'd like to see how those, because the length of you brought up the length of the word, the amount of the letters, all those cities have, if not the same, I didn't count them, but almost the same or more than Homestead. So I'd just like to see how they incorporated a long name into it.
Well, let us get back to you as far as, I don't know if we'll be able, depending on, what samples we had from before, if there's any of those that we want to even bring back, let's look at it and see if we come back to you the next one, or, for the next committee of the whole, or let me get back to you with a date, I guess we'll discuss, and...
Yeah, let's do that, because I don't think we're going to come to a decision tonight on this issue.
Mayor, I can see that we're not going to make a decision tonight, and I value everyone's opinion, but everyone on this committee has years of marketing experience, and we realize this is a very important decision. That's why we hired Adkins. I can understand if someone doesn't like exactly what it is, but this is our purpose. A modern, simple image that if somebody sees that H, they're going to start realizing that's Homestead. Nobody recognizes our seal. They're not going to recognize our seal. This is something new that we were trying to do, and I just want to thank you, ladies, because I think you've done a good job so far. I guess we're just not getting what they want.
Well, I have no problem. I have no problem with your work at all. I'm just curious to see how you incorporated, or how whoever did the marketing for those cities, how they incorporated the length of the name, because you were just saying that it was hard to incorporate the length of our name with artwork. So I have no problem with your work at all, and you've all worked very hard, including you, Madam Chair. I mean, you've worked very hard, but like I said, this is just such an important decision. It's very important, because we've lived with this one for a long, long time, and it's just very important. So, thank you.
Mayor.
Mr. Hodge?
Just to make final comments, again, I'm not trying to be negative, just trying to interject some ideas, and I'm glad that these flyers was given to us, because if you notice, it's not quite the seal, but the artist here tried to emulate or put in some of the ideas of the seal, because if you notice the little green that goes along the bottom there, that would represent, farmland. It's not the same sun, but it's a sun pretty much similar to something that you've done. Here they put some waves. I would imagine that's saying something about water. There's nothing about water in our seal, but and that's the thing that's all that I'm saying. They tried to do it. They tried to do it here. This is an opportunity to maybe correct it or make it a little better. And that's all that I'm trying to share with you is really interject some ideas of there is a method of being able to keep it clean and still integrate the two. So although one image is different from the other, but they will integrate and remind you of the other and marry themselves together. I'm not trying to degrade what you brought here or what we have. I'm not trying to degrade the committee and what they've chose for us to see tonight. This is my first time seeing this. I'm trying to interject the ideas, because sometimes we get so far down the road and things are not changeable. And when it's not changeable and there's mistakes in it, then we have to live with the mistakes. And I think Ms. Wallman said it best. This is a very important decision. It's something that we have to live with for a long time, unless we decide next year we want to change it again. But I will hope that we could identify a logo that will not only make this council proud, but make the community proud as well, and something that we can have around for a really long time. And that's what I'm shooting for. So it's not to degrade or anything that any work that's been done, but I just want to point that out. It's just to interject an idea so that the two items would integrate, and it would become a logo that would stand out and make Homestead stand out as well in the minds of the individuals who see it. That's all, man. Thank you.
One final comment. We at the university, we're going through the same thing, branding. And we hired a company called Staymans to do it. And what we have done and what they're doing, they have so many different focus groups that are feeding into the process. And these are folks that are not connected with the university, folks that are giving you an outside view of the university. And I'm sure you mentioned about a focus group with this branding. It's not what we see, it's what the external environment see, or their perception of the city. And we certainly need to take that under consideration. We're not trying to sell our city or the people that live here. It's those external forces, those folks that are coming in, will read about us on the internet or what have you, but it's the external folks that we're trying to sell Homestead and sell our image and discover the opportunity. Because I'll tell you that when those mayors came down a couple of weeks ago, when Mr. Porter invited them down to the league meeting, some had not been here since Hurricane Andrew. And to see the opportunities now that exist here in Homestead was remarkable. And I got some very positive emails from some saying, my God, I didn't know those things existed in Homestead, you know. So I say that to say, as you think about it, now the whole purpose here is not to sell. I mean, the people that live here, we know what we got, we know what we're all about. It's those businesses that we're trying to attract here in Homestead. It's those new residents that may be thinking about moving into Homestead. You're trying to share with them what we're all about. So it's a whole process, but those focus groups are very important. And we'll discuss this further at the next committee of the whole.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, just one interjection, is that the first rule of advertising/communications is you play to your audience. And say the residents here are not the audience for the marketing, with the exception of your services, so that they are totally aware of everything that you have to offer. They may not be totally aware of the opportunities and the services. And so when we created this, that was with that exact thing in mind, was for economic development. Quite frankly, most of them will probably never see your seal, nor do they really care about your seal, some of the businesses coming in. And I say this, I was a sitting councilwoman for 8 years in Miami Springs. I understand the attachment you get to some of these things. But playing to the audience, what do they need? They need something clear, they need something futuristic, they need something that's going to grab it. You say discover the opportunities, they come in with something, a printed piece of material, and say, what are my opportunities, Mr. Mayor? Tell me how I discover them. And that's what we were going after here. That was what I understood our mission to be, was marketing, as far as marketing the world. I must tell you that I'm sorry that not all of you were at the other meeting when we did present some of the other things, but the city of Miramar in 1998, that was our whole mission there, was to attract the outside world to Miramar. In 1998, they had 53,000 residents. Now they have 110,000. We may have gone overkill on that, but it worked because we played to the outside audience. And but we never forgot the residents, because the services stepped up and they discovered what Miramar was about and had the opportunities also.
Thank you so very much. Very lively discussion. We look forward to the committee of the whole. Thank you, Lillian.
Thank you.
all. Item 2C is the Chrome alternate route update by the Florida Department of Transportation. Mr. Porter?
Well, Mayor, you know, we're trying to backtrack on the discussions about the alternate route that's been on again, off again, and I just requested that someone from FDOT come down and give us a little presentation on where we are in the scheme of things. And I'm sorry, ma'am, I cannot pronounce your last name. Adriana? That's it.
She's bringing good news?
Good news? Is that mic on? Is that microphone on?
Okay, can you hear me now? I would like to thank you for inviting us to give you a presentation on the Chrome Avenue project. I also have here with me the design consultant, and they will get into more detail of the actual design, typical section, maintenance of traffic, etc. Right now, the Chrome Avenue project is at 60% completion. The project is approximately 4 miles, and in the effort of the department to minimize impacts during construction, we have divided the project into 2 segments. One will be awarded for construction in 2010, and the other section will be awarded in 2012. Now, the alternate route or truck bypass, which is called internally, is not programmed to start the PD&E project, the project development phase, until 2012. The actual construction will be in 2018.
Downtown will be dead by then.
That's where the funding is programmed. 2018. We started. We did start doing the alternate alignments, and it was stopped because there was no consensus as to where or which alignment was going to be designed, and we went back and programmed the funding in the study for 2012. That's the truck bypass, I'm sorry. The actual Chrome Avenue construction and design is right now at 60%. So with that, I would like to have my consultant go over the
portion that you're, I'm sorry, Mayor, the portion that you're talking about is within the city limits. I know currently there's some widening going on.
The project, which is under design at the present time, goes from US 1 to Lucy Street, and then the other section, which was divided, goes from Lucy to 296th Street.
And it does not do anything to improve or change anything in the historic district?
No.
So you have basically 4 lanes on both sides going into 2 lanes into a funnel?
Correct.
We can go to the project real quick. Good afternoon, my name is Archie. I'm with AFP Consulting. Like I was saying, this portion of Chrome Avenue from US 1 to Alcantara Drive is the first segment of FDOT's long-term improvements. The construction that you see out of Chrome now intersections was part of the short-term improvements. So Alcantara Drive is part of the short-term, and this segment is the first of the long-term. It is the reconstruction of Chrome Avenue, and like Adriana said, it was broken into 2 projects, one within the city of Homestead and the other in Florida City. We'll go over the one in Florida City. It's going to be from US 1 all the way to Lucy Street. It's going to be total reconstruction, meaning from the bottom face, which is the structural component of the asphalt.
Excuse me, may I just ask a question, because you're using the term short-term and long-term. Can you please define them, because they mean a little bit different to us than to you?
Okay, short-term, the first projects that came out, which were the intersection improvements. Okay, those are the ones in construction. So now the long-term improvements are coming into play, which are going to connect to those intersections, which will be the reconstruction of Chrome Avenue, which will incorporate those signals that are being, those intersections that are being. Going back to the section or the project within Florida City, as you know, that section today is 2 lanes, no curb gutter, no sidewalk, basically no drainage. So with the reconstruction, we're going to a 4-lane section with a median.
lighting, that I believe there's very good lighting there today. Sidewalks, bike lanes in each direction, and basically signalization also. And we're going to replace the signals on Palm Drive and at Lucy. Now to Homestead, City of Homestead. It's broken into, I believe, 4 sections. Section 1 and 2 are very similar in respect, but Section 1 is from Lucy to 6th Street, which is basically going from trying to get the 4 lanes into the 2-lane section. There will be no parking for that block. You will have the bike lanes. You will have 2 lanes in each 1 lane in each direction with the turn lane in the center. Sidewalks, decorative lighting, and basically today you have a curb section, so you're going to have the curb section also. Full reconstruction, like I said. Section 2, which goes from 6th Street to Flagler Avenue, which the busway, is going to be similar to the first section, but with the addition of a parking lane on the west side. Full reconstruction also. Section 3, which falls in the historic district, will strictly be milling resurfacing, just laying down some asphalt and laying down a nice layer of asphalt there.
What about our pavers? No, we have pavers.
They'll stay.
Oh, the pavers will stay. The pavers at the crosswalks will stay. Yeah, there's a special detail to make sure that the contractor does not damage those pavers. Now, Section 4, which runs from 4th, Northwest, Northeast 4th Street, all the way to Avocado, will be 3 lanes, 1 lane each direction, with the center 2-way turn lane and a parking lane on the west side. That section is total reconstruction, complete new pavement, new sidewalks, new lighting.
So all of the east side on-street parking north of the historic district will no longer exist.
Yes. Accommodate the bike lanes throughout the whole corridor. The only portion that does not have bike lanes is the historic district because they don't.
There was a point in time when the city proposed an alternate to the bike path to take it off of Chrome Avenue. I think it was out Avocado Drive down First Avenue and picking up down at the busway somewhere, and apparently that was never considered. And I think part of our concern was the loss of that east side parking was such a long distance. I guess that's a project that's gone forward without really seriously taking the input and considering the input from the people of the city of Homestead. I know there were several hundred down at Florida City Hall probably 4 years ago when we put in our written comments and taped comments, and I'm really surprised to learn to have you stand here and tell us that notwithstanding what the city of Homestead and its people talked about, that's been apparently disregarded or not heeded, and the project's going forward.
Let me
Can you tell us, was that alternate bike path ever given any serious consideration?
That goes back to the request for them to come down and speak to us, because if I remember correctly, in 1997, when I got on the council, we were talking about an alternate route, and we gave a resolution to FDOT that said we wanted it here in this general area where we've been talking about for the last 10 years. It goes through the public process, and the public can't decide where to go. It can't go anywhere else, so you come back to Homestead and you say, well, you guys have got to decide where to put it. Well, we've done this before. This will be 10 years of telling you that you go back through the public process again, you're going to get the same response. Run it down Redland. No, you can't. There's too many houses. Run it down Avocado. You can't. There's a school over there. Run it this way. It just ends up being constantly, it comes back to us. We were at the top of the list in 97 for the funding. And there was a position taken by FDOT that we didn't have our idea of where this road needed to go, this alternate route. We had it. It wasn't approved because you went through the whole public process again, kicked us out of the line, back to the bottom of the line. We had it approved. It was approved by the city council, the sitting city council at that time, Since that time, I've been on this council, and we've approved that same resolution 3 separate times and sent it to FDOT and said, this is where this road has to be in order for our downtown district to survive. And the Vice Mayor is correct. We talked to DOT about this and said, if you guys don't want to lose the parking downtown, give us an alternative. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vice Mayor. And this was, at the time, Charles LaPrade was working with us, and we looked at a route. It took it down an area that's currently a 4-lane residential street, has plenty of access for nice bikes without having heavy truck traffic riding beside it, and we proposed that. And I think my concern, and I think the rest of the council's concern, is what we do as a board falls on deaf ears. And it just gets to be a little frustrating. We talk about a 2018 funding. We were funded. We were at the top of the list for this alternative.
You're talking about the truck bypass?
I'm talking about the alternate route.
The alternate route for the trucks?
Yes, sir.
That's not the bypass?
No, sir. I'm sorry. I'm mixing the issues. My concern, my reason for asking you down was to talk about the alternate route and where was it in the process, because every time I ask about it as part of the transportation initiative, it's never really clear where it is, except when I sit back and wait, we think everything's good, then we get a report, oh, no, you have to give us a resolution on where you want it. We've done that. We did that in 97. We did that in 2 other resolutions.
Early 02, when I first came here.
Councilman Porter, to piggyback off of what you're saying, since I've been on this council, we've had this discussion, and we've also had the discussion about getting rid of the bike lane on Chrome Avenue and retaining the parking on the east and the west side, because we can't afford to lose 1 parking space. We're so tight already. We've had that discussion in the last 3 years, as well as the alternate truck route. So we've had both of those discussions, Councilman Porter, so you're absolutely right.
Ms. Wallman had a question.
Yes. And I recall in 2002 when we sat here, and we were just as adamant, just as you're the messenger. I'm not mad at you, but I'm really mad. I'm so mad right now I could just scream. When I heard 2018, I almost jumped over this dais. And our businesses are dying. They open, they have to close the doors because the truck traffic is so loud and so cumbersome that people can't stay in business. What is it that y'all don't understand? And what can we do to make a difference? It's like Mr. Porter said, we think we're okay, we think we're getting things done, but what can we do? Tell us what to do. Do we need to go sit on the doorsteps of FDOT? Do we need to do that? Because we'll do that.
I will relay the message. You have to apologize because
right now.
I'm not familiar with the whole project. I just got the project. So, but I do know that, and I got this from Mr. Rodriguez today, that we looked at it. It was looked at during the PD&E phase. It was dropped because, like I said, that's what I was told.
Well,
it never came to us.
If I might interrupt, you heard tonight we're talking about our Losner Park renovations and these beautiful things that we're doing. We're trying to rebuild the Seminole Theater. We're doing this. We have a bikeway, trailway planned from Everglades National Park to Biscayne National Park that's going to wind itself down through the historic downtown. We don't need those bike paths from Lucy to, 6th or to Flagler. We need parking.
They're on the busway.
And you're going to have bikes next to trucks?
So all I'm saying is you're going to have four lanes. That's going to double the traffic. And then they're all going to merge into our historic downtown. You have just made the problem
Worse.
Double from what it is already, and right now it's horrendous. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm really not mad at you. I'm really not. But you know what? We've waited 7 years to vent to somebody, and nobody comes here, and now I'm going to vent. I'm sorry.
Let me just ask this.
I'm done.
Am I running this part of this floor?
I'm done. I'm going to take a drink of water, and I'm done.
Okay. Take a drink of water?
Yes.
Mr. Stotts wants to speak.
Let me get Mike and then Rick. I'm sorry I can't see you back there. Mike, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, council members, just a comment. I think when we thought about looking for the short term, which is the bike path. We really went against it. I'm just going to reiterate that. And also, I think the first bike path was established in Homestead in the country, to the best of my recollection. And I think that was the city of Homestead chosen for what Mr. Porter described. The other thing I have a question for you. What does it take to take that bike path away and keep the parking spot? We have a shortage.
If you don't want the bike path, just request you don't want the bike path. Well,
We don't want the bike path.
Will we go back on the list several years if we
We don't want the bike path.
no, well,
Hold on a second, guys.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
just request it and we'll try to look into it and take it out. I mean, if you don't want it,
We're still in the design process, so changing
yeah, we're 60,
a project is feasible.
Okay.
Now, the alternate route is a separate project, and so
Right.
that's why it's scheduled later on in time.
We'll address one, first, the easiest issue first is to do something with the bike. We just go in the file, because we've got it all there. So, Mr. Manager, you can just pull that out of the file and...
First Avenue bike path.
Exactly, down first.
If I can add something, I want to make sure, because when you had a pretty good advocates on for bikes and bike paths there, and I don't want them to outshout that don't live here, okay, to be able to influence that process. And that looks to me, I'm very suspicious of that's what's happened. We need to make it clear, and we'll follow up on this with the appropriate people. But I think that we need to make it clear, and the message tonight is that, not talking about the alternate route, but the bike path. It's unbelievable that is still involved in this plan after what we went through. And I'm afraid there's a influential voice that probably has a bike at his house and rides and has influenced this thing. And I'm afraid of that. I could be wrong, but I remember these conversations early on, and there was a real advocate for the biking group there. They should not have that kind of influence over our street. Losing our parking, I mean, we made this so clear at the time. That's why we were so, I guess, shocked about that. We made that so clear. This is the first time I've seen that the bike path is back in there. So I just wanted to make that point, that I want to make sure we don't have an advocate up on the decision-making that seems to, other people going like, I don't live here either, so what the heck, go with the bike path.
Let me get the Vice Mayor. Look, it's not that we're taking away the bikes. We're moving them someplace, okay? Vice Mayor, go ahead.
Well, I think the manager hit it squarely on the head. I recall very vividly the night we went down to the Florida City Hall, and I think photographs similar to these were in place. And a gentleman, I think the real agenda here is that of those who are the anti-four-laning of Chrome Avenue in any manner whatsoever north of Avocado Drive. I remember very vividly someone in the audience saying to me, well, we've been working on this for years, and if you people in Homestead think that we're going to take that bike path out, you're crazy. It was, as Kurt said, part of a bigger anti-improvement agenda that's been shoved down our throats at Homestead. Now, Homestead is not anti-bike path, so long as the bike path does not impinge upon our parking and on the flow of traffic on Chrome Avenue. Now, and clearly this council, when they were asked to do it, sat down and proposed an alternate route, parallel route for that bike path that picked up with the bike path that's in the busway, and went through residential neighborhoods and took it off our main north-south commercial corridor. Now, as long as we're going to talk about that, and you mentioned earlier we're still in the design phase, and one of the issues we had back then, and again, let's revisit this recurring theme, lighting. I don't know, if this is the opportunity for us to install our new style light poles with underground sources of power north of the historic district to the limits of our system along Chrome Avenue, so that major thoroughfare matches Camel Drive and also matches North Canal when it's grown. And
the Homestead
Okay, well, we need to know that, and, we've had people stand here before, and again, I know you're just a messenger, we've had people stand here before in your shoes and sing that same song, but now you're here telling us that we're back on a prior sheet, so I want to be real clear that we want to do that.
The only thing that you have a concrete decorative floor.
Yes, it's the FPL version, yes.
Right. So DOT can allow poles.
Wait, you don't have it.
It is a hazard. So there's a manufacturer that makes the same look. Aluminum.
As long as we have the look. And I think before we jump off on the truck bypass issue, what's the time frame for the area of Chrome north of the historic district? Yeah, for the improvements north of the historic district, Avocado Drive. What are the parameters there? Time frame?
Time frame, well, the whole project within your city has, I think it's 600 days or 550 days of construction.
Wow.
So,
One section, the first section would take 600 days. The second section will take...
This one says 550.
For the city, 600. Homestead is 550.
And that clock hasn't yet started running, so it's...
No, that's from Lenny.
Let me ask you, we through?
Yeah, for now.
Did Rick want to say anything?
wants to talk, right?
Mr. Manager, Jason?
I just want to say about the lighting before we go. Let's make sure that, because we put in a standard lighting, and we've done this in some other areas, we need to double check, and I'll work with Cherie, that we've got the same lighting standard that we have now. Than what we first talked about. Okay, maybe Cherie.
Yes,
Okay,
I already took care of that. I did meet with the previous project manager, and they already are aware of our standard, and actually they revised the design, and they gave us a cost estimate for the change. Yes.
Well, but the lighting, I know that when I went over this with the lighting engineer, you have a concrete pole, okay? We don't put concrete pole. It's got to be an aluminum pole. The decorative lighting...
As long as we've got the look.
It's decorative, but it's not, okay. It's not concrete pole. It's got to be aluminum pole, all right? That's our standards, okay.
Mr. Stotts, are you back there?
Yes. Before I say what I intend to say, wiping out the parking on one side of Chrome Avenue as an economic development person, the only thing you could do worse would be decide to four-lane it with 6-foot sidewalks and wipe out the buildings on one side of the street. That's the only thing worse. Let me finish my statement, then you can have the podium, please, ma'am. Wiping out the parking on one side of Chrome Avenue is just not acceptable. There's got to be another way. Secondly, at your request, DOT, Mr. Rodriguez, we undertook a study 2 years ago on the alternate route and a bike path. You paid for it, we undertook it, and half of it has been ignored here tonight, because that study recommended moving the bike path not on Chrome, but over to First Avenue and then back over to the busway. That recommendation, that study that you paid for, has been totally ignored here tonight. So don't make any comments that our council is not aware of the bike path issue, because they recommended one when they adopted that study and forwarded it to DOT under the signature of our mayor. Secondly, that study recommended, after looking at 5 alternatives, an alternative for the alternate route, and we were told the reason we needed to do that study was to stay on the funding list. Now we've done the study, we've turned it in, given it to you, and we're not on the funding list anymore. Why?
You are on the funding list.
But we were told we'd be on the 2011 funding list for construction, not for planning, not for acquisition, but for construction. That's what we were told. We needed to do this study right away so that we could be there.
Okay, I will relay the message, and...
Pardon my department busted our chops to get that study done.
I do want to make a comment. I was not going to make any comment. I have not made any comments that he's not aware of the bicycle path issue. Okay, I never mentioned that. What I was going to say is that we are following what the PD&E study recommended to us, Okay, we inherit the study. There was a public hearing done on this project, and we just followed the recommendations that they gave us. It's not that we come here and start the design and we do whatever we want. We just inherit and we, start designing what is recommended on the project development phase.
May I ask one more question? And you talk about PD&E, and you're saying there's going to be another study done on the alternate route, or?
Yes, once.
There's the problem.
That's true.
Another study.
Because you're going to do another study.
Well, the study is done to address any environmental issues, and if the alignment is already been studied or done or determined, but there are other things that has to be done, and we have to address the environmental issues, the permitting, etc., any right-of-way issues that we might have. Also, it's not just the alignment and then we go to design. There's got to be a PD&E study, because that's where all the environmental issues are determined and addressed before it gets to us.
That, again, I just feel like we have been studied to death is the problem. And again, I go back to 97, because we pulled out the plans in 97 when we agreed that this had to happen. You cannot put 4 lanes of traffic into 2 lanes of a historic district with a road that's as rough and as narrow and as tight as that is. It just doesn't make any physical sense whatsoever. And you have to have a way to bleed some of that traffic off of that. You're going to see traffic sitting at the stoplight at 4th Street and probably back at Redland Rib House. There's going to be so many people trying to funnel into this little bitty narrow neck to get through downtown. And it just fundamentally doesn't make any sense to me that we would wait until 2018 to discuss or re-plan or go through this whole process over and over again. And I apologize for inviting you down into a hornet's nest, but we've been through this before.
I'm used to it.
Well, it's a surprise, but it's really not a surprise, because we've been down this road before, and that's why. But it was necessary for you to come down here. It's necessary for us to be able to know what we have to do to find out what is it that's going to get this alternate route in the funding process in somebody's eyesight before 2018. That's just it's crazy. We fight the same thing with the Turnpike Authority. They're telling us we'll get 6 lanes on the Turnpike in 2035. We'll be dead in 2035. We won't survive. There'll be so much road rage down here. No, let me finish. Road rage. They'll be killing each other down here. So it's my concern as a transportation chair. The mayor's tasked me with this, and I want to know, for council's sake, how do we get some sort of relief, someone that can come down here and tell us, no, we're not going to go another PD&E, and we're not going to talk to the people in the Redlands to find out where to put the alternate route, because they don't have an option. There's no place to put it out there.
Now, I will go back tomorrow and bring your concerns about the funding and see what if it can be moved.
Is there an appeal process?
I'm sorry?
Is there an appeal process that the city could pursue?
No, just
expeditiously to get it done?
Just the MPO, present it and see what to the MPO and bring it in.
Mr. Hart.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you actually, at the end, you actually asked the question I was going to ask Mr. Porter. It's basically as simple as this is, who is it that we need to speak with, and how soon can we meet with them so we can, get the whole shenanigans straightened out? Because obviously, we voiced a message and it wasn't heard, so we really need to get our message to the right ears and get it corrected. And I do understand you guys are here to give an update. You're basically the messengers at this point, so I'm not going to shoot you so you can return and get to the right guy so I can shoot him. So really we need to have that individual to come and meet with us as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's on the director level, so I will relay your message, and I'm sure we'll get these things taken care of and address your concern. I can also get, in touch with Ms. Kamali and talk about it, and when we can meet and go over the issues again.
Ms. Bell, and then Vice Mayor.
Thank you. It's tough being on this end. Yes, clearly I think the issues have been very, very well stated, but we really do have the two issues, and we have the one issue with the parking and the one issue with the timing and the funding. And what is just mind-boggling to me is that the Department of Transportation, or Florida Department of Transportation, would think that it was acceptable to put a bike path next to semi-tractor trailer trucks on Chrome Avenue. I mean, I can't fathom that. The fact that there is an alternate route in place for the bike. So that just boggles my mind. Another thing is that hurricanes. I mean, we have US 1 for evacuation and Chrome. And I just can't imagine that with a hurricane-prone area that we wouldn't be funded until 2018 for the widening of that, and on top of widening, you want to eliminate our parking. I mean, it just really, clearly, I think the problem here tonight is that the city of Homestead has not been heard. That's the underlying problem, is that everything that you're seeing happen is just because we're not being heard. So whatever it takes for us to be heard, we need to be heard. And everybody has stated, I don't need to restate any of the arguments, it's been very well stated, but we have to be heard as a city. We cannot have you come back without any of our recommendations and resolutions and discussions and alternate bike routes, and don't take away the parking. We can't have this again and again and again. So we've got to get from, how do we get from here to there? And that's the bottom line. How do we get from here to there where we're not going through this in another 12 months? So, I mean, we've got to come to resolution very quickly. Thank you.
Good, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. I was just going to suggest that it may be advantageous for us and our staff to have at our disposal copies of these aerial photos and proposed improvements so that we can carefully study them, spend the amount of time that needs to be spent, and bring it to council and make whatever comments or objections in whatever form we need to make, particularly while the design phase is still ongoing for the area impacted by the bike path and north of the historic district. The other certainly a more immediate battle,
Well,
because it struck me, you said we had no consensus. I know there's been consensus from both sides of this table since at the very latest, early 2002, when Ms. Waldman and I first came on council, we had a public meeting and said this is it, and only learned last year that, well, this isn't acceptable, go to the back of the line. And with our City Hall project coming online and the whole host of issues, we've got more battles to take on than we knew we had when we walked in here tonight.
Well, as part of the review process, you're one of the city of Homestead is one of the reviewing agencies since the project's in your limits. I'd be more than happy to provide you any area photography that you need to
Well, if we can get these maps reproduced with your cross sections, I think it would be very helpful. And Rick, if you think you need anything more than that, but.
Who is it that makes would have to make the decision to change this? The MPO?
For the funding, yes. You have to, and also you need to make a TIP amendment, right? Yeah.
Pardon?
You need a TIP amendment, and the MPO will have to approve it also.
Okay, and then who would have to make the decision with regard to the bike lane and the parking? Whose decision is that?
Yeah, that we can look at. We can make that decision to either remove it or not.
So it's a DOT decision?
Right.
The secretary makes the decision ultimately?
No, the secretary, I don't think he wants to bother with that, but we can make a decision as a designer.
Well, I think what would be helpful is are you assigned to this project now?
Yes.
What would be helpful, because obviously we've spent a lot of time and energy, but all of that has somehow been lost in the transition from, was there a prior project manager?
I am the new project manager.
So maybe from Mr. Rodriguez, because obviously all the work that we've done and the resolutions that we've done and all of that somehow has sort of been lost in nobody made you aware of it.
No, I have to look into more details. Yeah.
Because you should see the study that Mr. Stoss was talking about and
all of those, you need all that information so that we can, because we seem to be starting from scratch again, is what's what's so frustrated.
No, we can look at this is not final, and that's why we bring it to different, we go through public workshops, and we also bring it to...
What I'm saying is that we've had this discussion
multiple
times before with the DOT, and now it's as if we never had those discussions. That's what I'm saying. It's like we're starting from the beginning, like nobody from the DOT has ever heard our comments, because the council's been very consistent about this.
And I might add, if the public knew the discussion that was taking place here tonight, if we had realized that this was what was going to come up, and people from the downtown were here, this is very calm to what you would be hearing from back here. I promise you.
We're bringing them next time.
I promise you, what you would be hearing from back here would be scorching.
How do we get on the MPO agenda to change the funding? Who has to place us on the agenda? All right, we'll figure it out.
No, I'm not aware, I'm not familiar with the process, but you will have to request it to get into the agenda.
Sherry, Mr.
I just want to, first of all, you didn't get recognized by the chair, and you're the Robert's Rules.
I've been sitting here very quietly the whole meeting, so I get to talk.
You're supposed to ask for recognition by the chair.
I thought I saw your...
No, sir. No, sir. But thank you for your comment.
He was sitting in the back of the room.
Ms. Waldman, then we'll move on.
Okay, and then after I had a little chuckle there, look up. I know we have to end this discussion, Mr. Chair, but I want to just handcuff you all and keep you here as hostages, because I'm really tired. I'm so tired. And if you think we are, just like what Rick said, if you think we're upset, then you go down and you try to explain to those merchants that can barely pay their electric bill and sometimes can't pay it because there's no business because of those trucks. It makes no sense to me why the alternate route wasn't first on your scheduling, very first on your scheduling, because the other parts of the city are functional. They're at least functional. That downtown is not functional. And I really want answers. So what I think we've each one of us asked, what can we do? What can we do? Would it be helpful if we go and talk to your director? Or would it be helpful if we did anything like that? I mean, would it be helpful if we passed...
No.
We've done that before.
We got to have a meeting with the head hunter.
Mayor, let me just bring this thing to a close and just say that this was the intent of asking you guys to come down and talk to us, because I got the feeling that there was nothing going on. There was, the process was proceeding without us, and it just solidified all of our concerns tonight. And we will get back in the fight, and we will make our positions heard.
No, I will take it back to the appropriate, level and tell them what your concerns are, and we will address it.
And Mayor, we'll continue to bring this back on an ongoing basis through the Transportation Committee, so we can all be kept up to speed on the process. And because this part of it, I think we had seen most of this rendering, but again, the bicycle path was a surprise. The alternate route, 2018 number, is a scary number. I just cannot see us doing that to downtown, and I can't see it doing it to Homestead anyway. 4 lanes plus a bicycle path going through the historic district with no opportunity to go around it does not make sense. Does not make sense. Is there anything else before we close from you?
No.
Thank you very much. I apologize for the assault, but a lot of bent up frustration.
I understand.
Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
That's what they get for being after our logo discussion. That warmed us up for them. Thank you.
Don't forget where we live.
So we'll find out where you live.
The Vice Mayor mentioned a logo, Mr. Manager. I would be interested in feedback from your staff. Update on the search warrants and the new tip line by the Homestead Police Department.
All right, something positive. Maybe. But they're wrong, to be honest.
I want to thank you for letting us come up here today to give you an update on 2 of our ongoing projects. First one is
Since the inception of the tactical team in November of 2006, they have executed a total of 15 search warrants, making a total of 30 arrests. One of these warrants recently was with the U.S. Customs Service, involved in a counterfeiting scheme that resulted in 2 additional arrests, seizure of 2 vehicles, 10,000 counterfeit DVDs, 4,000 counterfeit CDs, and 30,000 in computer and electronic equipment. In an ongoing effort to expand the tactical team to a full SWAT team, we have made arrangements this weekend to have some testing at the Turkey Point Range. 15 additional officers have made a request to join our tactical team that currently consists of 3 supervisors and 14 officers. This group of 15 will be evaluated in several areas, including but not limited to physical condition, past experience, officer safety, marksmanship, and group interaction. At the conclusion, we will pick 5 to 6 officers that will be selected to be part of the tactical team for ongoing operations. We have arranged in June of this year, Miami-Dade Community College, the North Campus, is putting on a 2-week SWAT school where we will send anybody that has not have had previous SWAT experience to participate in this 2-week school. Once they successfully complete this course, we will have a full SWAT team in place. Sergeant Becker, Sergeant Pritchett, and Sergeant Ferrer will be putting the team together. I think all 3 of them will be there this weekend. The other one is the ongoing Operation Tap Out, which we have had going since early 2006. The operation, as you might remember, consists of 3 phases. The first phase was a covert phase, which placed undercover operations and resulted in almost 460 arrests year to date. They have seized large amounts of narcotics, property, and currency. We got a lot of the information from uniformed services and code enforcement services within our department, but a lot of it was generated by the detectives that work inside the unit. During this phase, we also implemented the TAC team that I mentioned earlier. The second phase is the community phase, which we are at the tail end of right now. During this phase, we implemented a tip line, and that number is 786-243-DRUG, and has a message recorded on it. It allows people to leave any type of drug activity or narcotic or any kind of criminal activity that they are aware of. It's a secure line, and it's totally confidential. We have gotten information such as narcotics dealers, grow houses. As a matter of fact, this evening while we were here at the meeting, some of our narcotics units along with the county responded to a location just outside the city, and were able to hit a grow house, arrested 8 subjects trying to get out the back door. And that's just one example of what this hotline provides us. One of the other ways that we've been involved is the unit supervisors have created some business cards that they pass out to the various individuals. It provides the hotline number, provides them a way to contact us to give us any type of criminal activity that they may be aware of as well. One major component of this phase was a graffiti paint out. I think at the last council meeting, there were some awards given out to some of the people that participated. One of the neat things about this graffiti paint out is we actually were able to recruit some ex-gang members to come out and help us with the actual painting of the buildings. Woodcott Park was one of the locations we went to. During this phase, we have just added our last SIU detective, which was in the budget at the beginning of this year. The third and final phase is called the maintenance phase, and during this phase we will go back to previous areas targeted and make sure that they are still drug-free.
We also intend on working with the property owners to make sure that they do their part in making sure that they promote drug-free properties by posting signs, signing trespass letters to the police department, and renting to qualified applicants. At the conclusion of this operation, we will be submitting in written form an application to the International Association of Chief of Police to recognize our chief in the city of Homestead by awarding the Motorola Weber CV Award that is given out once a year to the agency that runs the most significant operation. And that's our update.
Major, let me ask you a question. I'm part of a group there in the north end. They've had significant gang, drug-related problems up there, and I'm sure you guys are aware of the murder rate up in the Miami area. Are we seeing that any increase in gang activity in the Homestead area?
There's definitely been a major increase. In fact, there was a meeting today with school board police and some of our detectives specifically about Homestead Senior, and I think you're going to be seeing some things happening there. We are working in conjunction with the FBI. We have a task force going on. We have gotten a lot more cooperation from the Metro Gang Task Force, MAGTF. They've been coming down here almost weekly, riding with our detectives. We're trying to keep a handle on it. Part of that is by covering up this graffiti. About a month ago, we did an operation at two of our local businesses where I think it was Friday nights. Friday nights, we were seeing an increase in the gang members coming and hanging out at both clubs. We sat down the street. We were able to take, I think, a total of 13 subjects that night on various charges from narcotics to driving while license suspended. So we've stepped up as well, and I think because we have such a good relationship with the FBI down here, with the school board, and with the county officers, that I think we're making a difference to try to keep a lid on it. I don't think you see as many buildings that are graffitied down here as you do up north, especially along the Turnpike or the Palmetto in Miami.
I just wanted to, I mentioned that because it's really in some parts of the county, it is really out of control. And I'm really concerned about that we certainly need to stay on top of it. I've gotten some emails from some of our citizens about the same thing, the gathering of some of these young folks and these boom boxes and the loud, it just can be overwhelming. So I'm glad to hear that we have a program and a system in place that pretty much keep a lid on it.
I can tell you two of our detectives, I think they've been recognized here before, Detective Morales and Aquino. Really, this has become part of their lives. They're attending meetings frequently. They're having other agencies come down. They're providing information, which is really the key, communication. And I think one of the things, again, I mentioned earlier, we're going to try to get into the schools, particularly Homestead, and see what we can do to make a difference at a younger age than wait till they're out of school. Now we're dealing with them on the streets. So
that's good. That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any questions for the Major?
I just want to say, you did a wonderful job, Joe. Wonderful. You've come a long way, sir.
Only 12 shades of red.
Chief, you did a good job. Thank you, Mayor.
2E is a discussion on the bowling alley. Mr. Manager, discussion on the bowling alley.
Mr. Mayor, I had asked to have that put on the agenda, but based on discussion earlier today with the attorneys, I think it would not be appropriate to have that discussion at this time.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Moving right along, 2F is the definition of essential service personnel and other new definitions of terms in housing assistance plan. And that's tab 2.
Mr. Mayor and Council, actually what we're doing is revising our current local housing assistance program. I think the major issue there is to comply with Florida statutes and adding the definition of essential service personnel to our plan. That definition is but not limited to education and other personnel in public or private schools, colleges and universities, city, county, state, or federal government employees, healthcare personnel, skilled building trades personnel, and employees of publicly regulated utilities and services. And again, this is part of working on a housing initiative.
I'll move this, Mayor.
Moved by Councilwoman Wallman, second by Councilman Hodge. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor. 'Cause
Yes.
This, I guess, is a true definition then of workforce housing, because this is where we're trying to accommodate people who are just kind of falling through the cracks there with their salaries. So I would absolutely concur with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 2G is revised minimum unit size within the proposed business mixed-use zoning district.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this one is one we've discussed quite a bit in regards to our minimum residential unit sizes in the zoning category of business mixed-use zoning, which is only really found in our downtown mixed-use zoning. And get to the bottom line of it, I think as we went through the square footage sizes, what it should be versus, and the mix, we are now recommending, based on advice from council, to allow 700 square feet for efficiencies, 850 minimum square feet for one bedrooms, and the percentage is up to 10% of residential units can be 700 square feet efficiencies, up to 30% of residential units can be 850 square feet, and this is of a project, but at least 70% must be 1,000 square feet.
I'll move it, Mayor.
That's acceptable to me. Moved by Councilwoman Wallman, second by Councilman Hodge.
Comment.
Ms. Bell and then the Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I know last time, Mayor, you had brought up that this was, I think this was actually your resolution that we make it a very small percentage, because we had a lot of concerns with the small unit, specifically the efficiency unit. But I think that we do need to keep in mind, and I think that your resolution was a good one, that this is one specific area in the entire city, only in the downtown mixed-use area, along the busway corridor, along a high-traffic area, that this is the type of zoning that is specifically designed for this type of use, especially, and now I feel a lot better about it having only a 10% being 700 square feet or less. So I think that was a very good compromise on that. So where normally I would have been opposed to these smaller units, I'm very comfortable with the 10%, and I'm comfortable with the way that it's been designed in order to keep the quality high. And I know we were talking about also affordability, but we're talking about accessibility, not just affordability. So, Mayor, I would support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, the only question I had, I want to follow up on one of the comments I had, was the number of bedroom mix. You know, I think we've come a long way from where we first were at this discussion with enhancing the decreased minimums, and the percentages, I think, are a good mix of percentages. But we could find ourselves faced with an entire project being varying sizes of one-bedroom units. You know, as you and I have found, and looking at some of the vast majority of these big apartment projects that we have now in the context of condo conversions, that they're mostly one bedroom, and there would seem to be that we may be exacerbating a shortage of units with 2 or more bedrooms within the affordability range. And I don't know what, you know, I want to hear what some of the thoughts are here. I mean, maybe it's not explicit in here, but, I mean, conceivably, because everybody else has to have one bedroom and 1,000 square feet, and as proposed here, that may be all we have in a project, and I don't know if that's really what's intended, that if at least some of those 1,000 square footers should be 2 bedrooms.
Yeah, we didn't add a bedroom element to it. Go ahead.
I thought we did.
I know we had a discussion, and maybe...
Yeah, we did have a discussion.
But when we discussed the resolution or the recommendation was minimum of 70% of them to be 2 bedrooms, 1,000 square feet.
Okay, well, that's fine, it's not really in here, it just says 70% of minimum of 1,000 square feet. There's no connection to the square footage and the number of bedrooms for those above 850.
Well, we can make, if you want, we can go ahead and add that minimum of 70% of it to be two-bedroom at 1,000 square feet.
We had that discussion.
That's, I think, what I intended, and, I'd love to hear comments there.
We had that discussion.
Okay, that's fine. And I'll tell you, the only thing that's going to make me vote for this that includes the efficiencies is the small percentage of efficiencies. I mean, I wouldn't foresee that there'd be a 100-unit project anywhere,
And definitely that was our intent, that 1,000 square feet would be the two-bedroom, so I make sure it's correct.
That's right, as long as, the final ordinance reflects that.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Bell?
And actually, a two-bedroom home, townhouse apartment, two-bedroom townhouse or house of 1,000 square feet is a very nice size two-bedroom. It's a very ample size two-bedroom. I mean, my first house was a three-bedroom, two-bath, 1,200 square foot home, so this is actually quite nice. Thank you.
Of course, we make
Good
sure we have that
compromise.
in.
Yes, I agree.
Good job.
Go a long way.
Yes. Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Finally. Item 2H is the partial road vacationing of Parkway Avenue south of Civic Court and north of Northeast 2nd Street.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this relates to the building of our City Hall, and it's the roadway between the City Hall site, Borges Grocery Store down CAC, and the Latham Knapp, the old Latham Knapp.
Since we've already drawn plans that incorporate that, I'll move it.
I'll second that.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, second by Ms. Bell. Any discussion?
I don't think I can support this.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Bay Winds of Abaco partial right-of-way vacation. Tab 5.
Yes, Mayor and Council. Again, we're talking about giving up our approval of vacating a right-of-way at, it's really the corner of 328 Street and 142 Avenue, out in the southeast section of the city. The actual project, if Cherie has got the map there, because I know it's a little hard there. There's a strip there, there's an old farm road that's on the north side of the canal that runs parallel with 328. And,
Excuse me.
they want to vacate that. It really was never dedicated. So we couldn't find any record of the right-of-way being dedicated to us to begin with. But we recommend to go ahead. It really, they got the neighboring farmers, the neighboring people there to agree as well. Sherry, am I leaving anything out there?
That's good, Mayor.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
I think we can distinguish this from an earlier case where payment was made because there's right-of-way that overlays part of it, and part of it will be excavated. It won't be used for actual construction of units. So I think that's an important distinction there as to why no one's bringing us another oversized check.
That's also under the ACUs. That's why they're digging that lake there and getting their fill from that corner.
Mayor.
Ms. Roman?
It says here that the adjacent property owners have signed a waiver, so I'm going to move this, please.
Moved by Councilwoman Wallman, second by Councilwoman Bell. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The policies for naming, renaming, or co-designating city homestead streets, facilities, and properties.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we have two policies here. As you know, the Human Relations Board has taken on the duties of people requesting streets and properties to be named after significant people in the community that made significant contributions. We have one policy here dealing with streets, and then another with facilities and property. and they set out the criteria which they will use in an application that they have for applying for the name, renaming or co-designating.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell, is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilman Hodge. Question, Mr. Vice Mayor.
The ordinance talks in terms of shall be responsible for review of all requests for. This council still has final word, just like P&Z. I mean, a negative recommendation.
Yes, absolutely.
This elected body still has final word.
Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Marlene has got a comment on that.
Additionally, under item number 12, it says the city council may, by a supermajority, majority plus one vote, exempt itself from this policy or waive these criteria for any reason, and ultimately, council has the final decision. But also, I would like to thank and acknowledge Lauren Yoder from the Community Development Department, who worked very closely in putting together this policy and procedure. I think she did a wonderful, very professional job, and I'd like to acknowledge her.
Thank you very much.
Mayor.
Mr. Hodge?
Also, I'd like to agree with Marlene and her comments with Ms. Yoder and the great work that she's done on this program. Also, I'd like to put in a request as we're coming up for budget. Since Human Relations Board has taken this on as a task to be able to fund them feasibly, probably an extra $10,000 in the budget in this coming year to facilitate just this program, because they're actually coming out of their budget would be for the signing and the signage and the availing of the sign.
It would have to be for next year's budget, because this year's budget's already been approved.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
good. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Special Event Grant Funds, tab 7. Is there a motion for approval? Is there a recommendation? Moved by Councilwoman Wallman, is there a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Councilwoman Garner. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Finance Committee, Councilwoman Bell.
Thank you, Mayor. Budget amendment for final fiscal year 2006, tab 8. Mr. Manager.
Ms. Bell and Mayor and Council, we are actually doing a correction or amendment to last year's budget for unintended or unaccounted for revenues and expenses, and you can see the items here of the firefighters pension fund we got from the state, and we also put it in there so it becomes an expense and balances. But for our comprehensive annual financial report, our CAFR, we need to have these things balanced and
Move the recommendation.
Move with the question, Mayor.
It's been properly moved. It's been seconded by Councilman Hodge. Yes, Councilman Hodge?
Can we move it to this budget?
That budget's already been approved.
Okay.
Let me just say,
Good try.
on this, in 6 months, we're going to really have to come back again and adjust this year's budget, because we didn't. One thing, we had the labor contracts that weren't completed in time. So.
Well, next month is already 6 months into this year's budget.
Yes. So there's a point we're going to have to come back and amend again this year's budget.
And I want to say that this ties in a lot with the excellence in reporting with the CAFR, and how year after year, for 5 years in a row, that this city has received this award because of these, bringing this back to council and keeping us on task, if you will. Thank you. Thank you, Finance Department. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And the ayes carry. Thank you, Mayor.
Utility Committee, contract for utility payment, lockbox services, Councilman Hodge.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Hodge, Mayor and Council, it is staff's recommendation that we use Intuition Systems for collecting our mail-in bills and handling and processing, I should say, our mail-in bills. We are dealing with approximately 13,000 mail-in bills monthly, and we use anywhere between 1 and 1.5 full-time employees to do this. With the mail system like it is, and when people mail, you don't have an even flow come in, so sometimes it's very disruptive because you got to throw a lot of people in to deal with it if it comes in bulk. So the company here, for $34,752 a year, will process our payments and our bill payments. The this will allow us, with one full-time with benefits is in the 50s, we really have a savings of $21,648, and open positions in there can be filled by the person that would have been doing this. And it's really not one person, it sometimes is a group of people.
Well, I'll say that with a question.
I have a first and second. Vice Mayor?
So then, in the future, the return envelopes in the bill will have addresses that go somewhere else. The payments will not be coming here.
Correct.
Where is that somewhere else?
Actually, it's up, I will believe, in, is it Clearwater?
Clearwater, Florida.
So people might need to add a day or two for mailing if they're the bill payers that play the deadline game. Well, maybe we need to
We'll make
put
those
that out there.
announcements in the bills and inside the flyer there.
I think that's all.
Thank you. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Public Safety Committee, Councilman Porter. He's not here. Mr. Manager, Traffic Control Jurisdiction Agreement.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is one of our routine agreements there to do traffic inside private communities there.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilwoman Bell, second by Councilman Hodge.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any non-agenda items, Bill?
No, sir.
Mr. Hodge?
No, sir.
Vice Mayor?
Well, just if you see my wife in the next couple of days, extend your condolences. Friday is her 16th anniversary.
Will do.
Her 16th anniversary?
Her 16th
Okay.
She'll know what we're talking about.
Well, tomorrow is my 21st wedding anniversary. So, Valentine's Day, and I want to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. And I was going to report on the beautification, but I'll do that at the council meeting. So, Mario, I don't know if we can put on the agenda, but we have a lot to report on that. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Garner? Okay. Mr. Manager?
None there.
Mr.
I
White?
want to say this has been a very fun meeting.
Like there used to be.
Very cordial this time, right?
They didn't know what happened.
When Richard gets in for it.
Yes, we are now adjourned.